Zooming in on music. Hello everybody, my name is Michael Gieler, musician from the Concertgebouw Orchestra and artistic director of Music Stages. Today I will be talking to Simon Reinink, the director of one of the most famous concert halls in the world, the Concertgebouw in Amsterdam. Welcome Simon, thank you for taking the time to talk to us and to shine a bit of light onto the present situation and hopefully also onto the future.
I'm happy to.
How do you become the director of such a famous concert hall?
Well, that's quite a story. And in fact, it was just a phone call. Someone rang me from a headhunter office and said to me, well, your name is on the list, on a long list, because one of the men of the advisory board of the Concertgebouw mentioned your name as a possible successor of Martijn Sanders. So that's the reason why I call you. So that's how it started. And then I had several interviews, I think all in all around 14 interviews, application interviews. And here I am, still, I must say.
Not many people will know that, and actually I don't know it either. What was your previous job?
I used to work as a publishing director, and before that I was an attorney at law for 4 years, and I'm trained as a lawyer. But during my life I've always been very much into music. I played a lot of music myself, classical guitar. Since my 8th I went to the Concertgebouw regularly, at least 8 times a year. So, and then afterwards I grew up in Utrecht, so that's the place where the festival of early music is every year. And I've been to so many concerts when I was a kid, and I loved it. And I started to study musicology as well during my law studies. So I was very much into music, so to say.
So for you, the step from publishing to being director of the Concertgebouw wasn't that big, actually.
In a way, not, because there are many things that both jobs have in common. Because, in fact, what we sell is the best that human beings can produce. It's either literature or music or professional information, and you have to find the right modus to bring that to the people. So to organize that, you have to know a little bit about marketing, about finance, about HR, and that sort of thing. So it has more in common than you would think.
Yeah, I mean, many people would think normally that you have the most envious, the job that you could be very envious about. But at this particular time, I'm not so sure. But let's talk a little bit about the past, the glorious past. What makes the Concertgebouw so special, in your opinion?
I think it's a blend of various factors. I think, of course, the hall itself, as your former chef conductor once said, it's the most beautiful and the most important instrument of the Concertgebouw Orchestra. And we have not only one, but we have 2 glorious halls. The recital hall is a hidden pearl behind the main hall. It's we're well situated in Amsterdam, alongside the Museum Square. It's such a wonderful city, Amsterdam, to live and to work in. And I think we have a very privileged situation, because not only because of the Concertgebouw Orchestra as our resident orchestra, but also because of all those other great orchestras that perform on a regular basis in our hall. We have the Saturday matinee, we have wonderful piano series that we have in the hall, we have great opera, we have Baroque music, we have chamber music, we have jazz, pop music. It's a unique combination, I think, and we are really privileged to have this hall in our country.
Yeah. Before the crisis, how many concerts did you actually organize, or how many concerts took place in the Concertgebouw per year?
I think it was around 730 every year.
It
was over 950 events, of which 730 or 750 concerts.
Wow.
Yes.
And how many visitors? Just to give people a perspective who don't know, how many visitors would that
Around
be?
730,000 a year.
That's incredible. Yeah. I was always, and I'm still very, very impressed with the programming of the Concertgebouw, because obviously for me, classical music is very important. But you did many more things than that. I saw, especially in the last years, I saw a shift towards more world music as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, of course, in general, we are a classical music-based concert hall, but more and more our society has changed over the last decades, and it's so important that we are a class or a venue for the people of nowadays, because I think over 50% of the people that live in Amsterdam now have a non-Western background. So we need and we want to be for them as well. It's extremely important. So if we have to change the program to that end as well, but we will for 80% remain a venue based on Western classical music. But for the other 20-25%, there's so much room for other initiatives and musical and of genres. Yes.
So was that a conscious decision during your directorship to put more, make more space for world music?
Yes, absolutely. We need to be there for the people of Amsterdam and the Netherlands. Yes.
And do you have a personal preference? Actually, is there something that you particularly like or that you're particularly interested in?
No, it varies from day to day. And what I like most maybe is I'm a curious guy, and there's so much to discover. And I don't think that classical music is necessarily better than other music. No, it very much depends on the quality of the music and the musicians, of course. I've been to so many concerts, pop concerts or jazz concerts, that were so fascinating. They were so good. There was such a concentration. No, there's so much to discover. So that's what I very much like about this new initiative.
Yeah.
There's so much we do not know yet.
Yeah. I totally agree, and that's why I very much like talking to you about these things, because I also believe that we need to expand our scope. There is indeed so much to discover, and there is a certain, people are sometimes a little afraid, or they worry, or that they don't know enough. I mean, it works both ways. I mean, there are also many people from let's say not Western background who would probably love classical music, but they are kind of shy because they think, I don't know enough. I don't know what to behave, how to behave. I don't know how, these people around me, I don't know them. I don't feel comfortable. And it works the other way around too, that if we hear a concert of let's say Turkish music or Asian music, that we feel kind of estranged. So what can be done about that?
This is the topic I am really fascinated about. And I think you're so right, because I absolutely adore wonderful music, especially classical music. But we should be very careful that we do not worship it. And there it becomes dangerous, because I think there are too many people that think and that really believe that they need to know everything about classical music before they are entitled to even listen to it, let alone enjoy it. Whereas I think that is such a different situation. You need to open up and just listen to it, and you can easily say whether you like it or not. And that the same goes for every other style as well. So I don't know the word for it in English, but if I have a personal mission in at least the classical music industry, it's that we need to get rid of the samengeknepen billen.
I will not translate that.
Okay. I think too many people are too stressed and too insecure, because too many people have worshipped classical music and worshipped conductors and great soloists. In the end, we are all human beings, and music is deeply human. So we should humanize music rather than make it a sort of religion in the wrong sense, I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Also, this part about exaggerated worshipping, certainly,
it's dangerous.
I think
it ruins our industry. It
Yeah.
ruins our industry. Personally, I would like to start an initiative to get rid of the bizarre word maestro. Get off. It's nonsense.
Yeah. Well, it also shows some respect, and obviously there are people that out there that certainly deserve a lot of respect. But it also puts them.
It's human respect.
Yeah. But on the other hand, the Concertgebouw is a temple. I mean, if you go there, people are so in awe, and this stage, and then you see this. Many people that go for the first time are completely overwhelmed. I can imagine that for them it's also intimidating. I mean, for you and me and our colleagues, of course, it's like, yeah, we are at home here. But for people that have never been, they feel, wow, what's happening? It's almost, it is a place of worship in a way.
Yes.
So what can you do, or what are you doing actively to sort of to lower the threshold in that sense?
Well, it is a bit a contradiction maybe, but on the one hand, we want to have this building in a sublime state. As you may have seen yourself, over the last few years, we've done a lot to renovate the interior of the hall. We've redone the lighting of the main hall. So it's really so beautiful now. It's really nearly perfect. That we will keep. But on the other hand, we want to make this top-notch, sublime quality as accessible for as many people as possible. Because we believe strongly in our team that this enriches people's lives. That's our mission, to present sublime music that enriches people's lives. But it's not a church. It may be a sort of temple, but a temple to serve people's needs. But it's not a temple to serve the needs of gods. Musicians are not gods. They're new human beings, phenomenal human beings. We love music, but it's a different approach.
Yeah.
So we should not dump down, and to make it more simple, I think we should present this as it is and to share it with as many people as we can.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. And you've done that very successfully also with children, and the educational part of the the educational staff of the Concertgebouw is fabulous. I've worked with them too, and you do so much for small children, for school kids, for students.
Yeah, we do.
Really an example of how to reach out to the next generation.
Yes, well, if there's one theme that is really important, as we just said before, it's inclusion and diversity. I think that this problem will be solved partly because society changes automatically. If you look to the schools, to the younger classes, the young kids, they're for over 50% a blend of different cultures.
Yeah.
And if they come to the Concertgebouw, they will embrace the Concertgebouw. So it will be there in their brain, in the memory, and hopefully they will come when they grow up and they will decide to go to the Concertgebouw. Yeah, I think it's really important that they see and that they feel and that they know that they are welcome too. Yeah. Too many kids, too many people think that they are not welcome in the Concertgebouw. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the main goals of the education program, that they know that they also are welcome in the Concertgebouw and that is there for them as well.
Well, obviously, now today's situation at this particular point is very different. And
no one is welcome.
Not even we are welcome at this week.
No.
So that's how would you describe the current situation we're in now with this COVID crisis and all these measures that the government is forced to take to bring down the infection rate, etc.?
Yeah. Well, it's of course a horrible situation because we can't do what we are there for. We can't make we can't do what we are there for. And especially, I'm really worried about the musicians, and especially those that do not work under an employment contract. So they lose their income and they cannot perform, which is a disaster, I think, for them. And personally, I think it's really sad that they have closed the hall 2 weeks ago, because there was not a real reason for that, because the situation was completely safe. And it was just more a political decision rather than a medical decision, I think, to close down the theaters and the concert halls in the country, because it has not been proved that we, i.e. the halls, have been an infection, a place of infection. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the problem is that everybody that gets affected says, "Yeah, but it's not us; it's somebody else." And in the end, I mean, I'm glad I'm not a politician, and I'm glad I don't have to take these decisions.
Of course. So it goes without saying that we perfectly do what the government wants us to do, to close down the hall, of course, and we take it very seriously, and we see the great problems that there are around us. And do not forget that we lost one of our colleagues who died from COVID-19 a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's so sad.
It has hit us tremendously as well. And also 8 other people have been ill. Fortunately, not very, very ill. But it is really a dangerous virus. So we have to be very careful, and we should be as responsible as we can.
People say that a crisis shows who you really are. And what I saw from the Concertgebouw is that you have reacted very, very quickly. Yes. You were so agile in rearranging the chairs, in organizing how the public was allowed to go in, and reducing the numbers, communicating to the public. It was really impressive. How did you do that in such a short time?
Well, the honest answer is that it's thanks to the wonderful colleagues of mine, because many initiatives started without the direction. For instance, the empty Concertgebouw sessions, those short online concerts that we organized, it was the online team that came up with this idea. And we said, yes, go. And within a week or so, they started with the first streams. But also on a managerial level, we had to reduce the costs. So we had a huge cost-cutting operation in the summer, and which we started in April, and we finished it within 3 months. So that was really quick. But we had to reduce the cost with 20%. So we also lost 80 colleagues over the last few months, but we have to, because otherwise we'll get bankrupt.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Do you feel that you get enough support from the government and from local authorities to keep you ticking through this period?
I must say, so far so good. The government has been really good to us. On the other hand, we still incur huge losses. This year, around 2.5 or 3 million euros. And maybe next year around 5 million euros. So that's a lot of money that we lose, despite the support of the government.
Mm. And how are you going to resolve that situation?
Well, we have a little savings, but that's not to cover the rest. So we have asked our benefactors if they would allow us to use their money to fill the gap for next year. Mm. So hopefully they will help us. But still, we are lobbying also for some extra support from the government, because the losses are simply too huge.
Yeah. But I get the sense that in a way, maybe because you're such a good director, or maybe because of the status of the Concertgebouw, that you are in relatively better situation than many other colleagues in Holland or worldwide. Is that so?
Well, the situation is so different, because in a way we are in a very good shape. But on the other hand, we are responsible for 95% of our own income. We have only 5% subsidy directly. So that means that if there is no income because we have to close the hall, our organization is hit much, much harder than all the other halls that receive subsidies. So the bizarre situation arises that some other halls do not incur huge losses, whereas we incur huge losses.
Yeah. And what about international colleagues? Because I'm sure, and in fact I know that there are networks of the big concert halls in the world, and you're part of that network.
Yes.
What do you hear from your colleagues internationally?
It varies from country to country. For instance, in Germany, they receive quite a lot of support from the government. But for instance, the Musikverein in Vienna is more or less the same as us, the situation. They have 90 or 95% is income, their own income, and the rest is subsidy from the city of Vienna. So it varies from hall to hall. And the only thing that I know is that the other halls are too big to fail. So I would be really surprised if one of the larger European concert hall will get really bankrupt. Well, the Concertgebouw is member of the ECHO club, which is the European Concert Hall Organization. And this club consists of the larger European concert halls. And most of them are the halls that are the biggest halls in the capitals of Europe. So I think they are too big to fail. And but the situation varies from country to country. Paris, for instance, receives a lot of support of the city and of the country. The Musikverein, we hardly. Directly. Indirectly, of course, it's different because we have, for instance, the privilege to have the Concertgebouw Orchestra that gets 50% subsidies from the government, and that allows them to rent our hall, for instance. Yes. Without that, it wouldn't work. So in the end, we are all part of the very same ecosystem. So I should be a little bit modest about that, because without this subsidy of the government, the Concertgebouw simply would not survive.
Yeah. And well, we are all hoping, of course, that we'll get through this and that that things will get better in a not too distant future. But while this is going on, you mentioned already the Concertgebouw sessions, but were there any other initiatives that you started during this crisis that kind of, well, open new possibilities?
Well, we do not know yet. We had to readapt our infrastructure for the concert that allow only 350 people in the hall, and the online initiatives. We will start with the experiment for paid streams, because all the streams have been for free now, but we want to know whether people are prepared to pay for the live streams, because they cost a lot of money to produce a live stream concert. So we want to know and to find out whether people are prepared to pay for that, because in the future that might give us an extra source of income.
But as far as I know, from my observation, I mean, obviously the biggest and most famous experiment in that field is the digital concert hall of the Berlin Philharmonic, and to my knowledge, it has never produced any profit up until this point. Maybe you have other information, but I think they use it mainly as an important branding tool, and they use it to show that they're well with the modern times, and they embrace new technologies. But as far as I know, that has never produced any income.
That's true, but their business model is slightly different than what we are aiming for, because they do it on a very, very regular basis, whereas we want to see whether people are in different markets, for instance, pop and jazz, prepared to pay for it. And we'll see. It's just a small experiment just to find out whether we can make it work. I'm really curious, and if it doesn't work, then we know that. So yeah, but I know the case in Berlin very well.
I'm sure. And in this time, obviously, many musicians that are cannot give live performances, they went online. There is like an overdose. I mean, I'm also guilty of that, and my own small organization is also producing online content. And there is this discussion, I think, which we should lead, is are we not hurting ourselves doing that by just throwing out content? Hello, I'm alive. We play beautiful music. Listen to us. We are nice.
It's yes and no, I think.
Yeah. What's your standpoint in that position? Should musicians actually reduce the amount of content, online content, especially free content that they're producing?
Well, the answer is yes and no. It was good, I think, to make yourself heard during the first lockdown. No one knew what to do. People were hidden in their homes, so it was very good to go out and to make yourself heard. On the other hand, I think people should realize that this is not for free. It costs money. It represents value. Live music represents value. So you have to find a way to monetize that. So that is really important. And that's, I think, why we are now in the next stage. And that's why we have started our experiment to see whether it might work. So if it works, many other musicians can benefit from our experiment, I hope. Because we are a concert hall, we are no musicians. So, but what we can try to design is a format, a platform to present live music on an online platform. And if it works to monetize it, people, musicians can share in that, of course. That's the idea.
And the platform that you are about to launch, if I understand it right, it's not only for classical music, but it's also for a broad range of music.
Yes. So we have just started to think about the experiment. So there's not yet a platform, but we're thinking about it, yes. But it will comprise more than only classical music.
Yeah. And one of the important aspects of a concert experience is obviously you go to a hall and you hear some great music played by great musicians, hopefully. But there is also the social exchange. It's the part when you talk to people, you go out. It's an evening out. It's a form of entertainment. Let's just be plain about it. And it's also a moment of social interaction. You probably meet friends that you haven't seen for a while. You chat in the interval. You have a drink together afterwards. So, are there ideas to somehow reproduce that online? Are there ways, in your opinion, to
I think you cannot really replace that, because one of the most wonderful things about live music is that it is a shared experience, shared between the musicians and the audience is together. And there's nothing that can really replace that, because you're in the same room, in the same space, and the unique acoustics and the interaction between musicians and the audiences. Well, we're now talking to a screen, to a camera. Well, we just took the two of us. It makes it a little bit easier, but a whole hall with full of people, it's different. You can't replace that online.
Yeah. So
it is just another way of presenting music, but it is not a replacement.
Yeah. In my conversation with Ivan Fischer last week, he said exactly the same, actually. So I think we all agree on that the live experience shall never be replaced. And let's hope that we will find ways to generate that live experience for our public as soon as possible. But certainly online offers some options which we otherwise don't have. Even pre-pandemic, the Concertgebouw launched initiatives, especially on the educational field online. How did that go? What were your experiences there, and what are the plans for the future?
Well, when it comes to online activities for the education market, well, we are involved in an initiative that brings music education to schools. It's called 1, 2, 3 Zing. And this company that has started this initiative reaches over 500,000 children now every year. And we have a modest part in this as well. So that's one way to reach out to these school kids. On the other hand, we have a participation program that's called Zing and Beleef. That is a sort of choir program for amateurs. And that seems to work quite well via Zoom. So then you have 60 people in one Zoom program, and there is one people that is coaching these singers, playing on the piano at home, or in the Concertgebouw in this case. And that seems to work quite well. Can you imagine that 60 people sing together via Zoom? It's
wow.
Funny.
I sometimes teach via Zoom, and I must say it's really painful experience. So I get my students to send me online videos before, so I can hear what they're actually playing. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with Zoom. You just have to, if you have better equipment, obviously that helps. But to sing together, I cannot imagine how.
No,
I mean, anyway, but people seem to enjoy it, and that's the most important thing.
But you should not forget that so many people are completely alone at home. They are bored out completely. So everything they can do to interact with other people, let alone make music together, is a huge plus for them.
Yeah. I saw there's a wonderful initiative, I think, in the United States where people dance together. So they listen to some rave or whatever house music, and they put on their webcams, and everybody dances on his own at home, and they're having a great time. And obviously they would enjoy it more if they were in the same building. But I think it shows that if you are creative, and if like your choir project, that there are ways we can invent things. I'm sure that, and there will be creative people all over the world who will come up with new ideas how we can join even online. And then hopefully one day, in not too long a distance, we'll be back together in the Concertgebouw, and it will be full, and it will sound wonderful. The way you speak about music and how you speak about the Concertgebouw, you're very involved, and you're very, very passionate about your job. But outside music, outside the Concertgebouw, what are you passionate about? What do you love doing?
Well, several things pop up. And the second great hobby that I have is landscape. I'm a chairman of a foundation that owns a large estate in the middle of the country, which is a real phenomenal historic estate. It is we own over 700 hectares, which is quite big, so more than 1,400 football fields, which is huge. And I love that, the combination of farming, of forestry, of landscaping, environmental issues that come up. It's fascinating. So that's what I like very much too. So in the weekends, I'm in the countryside as often as I can. On the other hand, I like cycling. So I cycle a lot in these days. So it's good to go out. And literature, I'd love to read. So,
wow! So
just to name a few.
So I'm sure you're never bored. And let's just look now finally into the future. Where do you see the Concertgebouw? Where do you see the music world in, let's say, 6 months' time, or after the summer?
I hope, and I'm an optimist by nature, that the medics will have found some solution. So hopefully there will be a vaccine. Hopefully there will be a better treatment for those people that have contracted the coronavirus. So if this turns out to be true in the future, in the upcoming 6 months, we can gradually open up the halls, which does not mean that we can open up completely. So I'm afraid we still have to face measures from the government. So no full halls yet, but more open than today. And that at least gives us the opportunity to really think about the future after 2021. In our scenario that we used to organize, that we used for our reorganization to cut the cost, in our scenario, we think that we can open up in January 2022 without limitations. So it will take a little longer, I'm afraid, but then we will be confronted with a huge recession. So the economical situation will be completely different from a year ago. So we have to face that and we have to overcome that too. So the first problem was to overcome the COVID-19 disease. The second will be how to survive the recession that will follow from that. So there is another challenge ahead. So financially, it will not be easy.
Yeah. And do you worry because many people that used to go to concerts regularly, they if they like it or not, they got used to this new reality of not going so often. Do you think that, I mean, there are some optimists like my wife. I'm very happy and very lucky to be married to her, because she thinks everything will go back to how it was before. People will want to go out. They will be hungry for experiencing this music together, and they want to hear beautiful music in a concert hall, and it will maybe not very fast, but it will go back to how it was before. Is that what you think too?
Well, if you look historically, every crisis has shown one thing: it will never be the same as it was before the crisis. It will always change. The question, however, is what will change? And as you just indicated, I think a few things may have impact. I mentioned economically, financially, but also habits of people. People change their habits gradually over time. People automatically buy a series for concerts. They go to concerts every month or every 2 months. And in this situation, they might have changed their habits. So they have to rechange their habits again to go back to normal. So the only answer, I think, is time will tell. But we have to be prepared. People may have changed their habits. So we really need to think how to reach out to those people. We learned a lot about this in this difficult period, how to reach out to these people online. So if we can use those platforms to reach out to those people and to tell to those people, you have to come back, because the real thing is only the live experience. So please come to the hall, and there you will have the full experience. Nowhere else. So I think it's a gradually different situation, but it will take a little time to restore the old situation. And it might be a little bit different, but not necessarily worse. We'll see.
Well, I'm so glad that the Concertgebouw is in such good hands, and that it has such a positive and at the same time realistic director. And I know you, I know your staff, and I know how dedicated all these people are that are working there. And I'm sure you will all do your very best to recreate this live music experience as soon as it is possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this conversation.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Zooming in on music.